In the videos that you're about to see, you'll see some people describing how and why they decided to join psychological professions.
I've always enjoyed working with people. I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories. It's a natural part of my way of being with people. I also always knew that I wanted to work in healthcare.
I first came across psychology at A level. It was that subject that kind of matched some of the values and skills I already had. So those included sort of good listening skills, wanting to learn about people, to kind of understand where they're coming from, what made them who they are, but also the science of kind of understanding how things work and how we can change things for the better. I did an undergrad degree in psychology, and I chose the 4-year degree over the full-time 3-year degree because it offered me a couple of placements. That was really, really valuable. They offered me kind of first-hand experience of working with clinical psychologists and with people and with research as well. And then after that, it also helped me to get one of my first assistant psychologist posts. These are kind of posts where you work with clinical psychologists firsthand, you get supervised and work in the NHS most of the time. And once I got onto training, so you have to do the clinical doctorate, which is about 3 years, that's where I kind of really developed my experiences and really developed my understanding of all the different kind of models and ways of working with individuals using psychology and kind of other therapeutic models.
I followed the traditional route to becoming a clinical psychologist. So I did my bachelor's in psychology, and while I was doing my undergrad, I worked as a support worker in a stroke unit. That experience really set me up quite well for an assistant psychology post, so I applied for it, I got it, and I worked as an assistant psychologist for 2 years before I applied for the doctorate. My first application to the doctorate, I got 3 interviews, and everybody was so sure that I would get on because I had 3 interviews, but I did not get on. The clinical psychology interview process is quite difficult to prepare for. It is a very different type of interview, and I think it's really normal for people to not get on the first time. So I applied again a second time the following year, and I was successful that year.
My role is really varied. I work at all different levels, from individual with kind of assessing people's mental health needs and helping them understand what's kind of going on and what they need to stay well. And also if they're experiencing some memory problems, just to do a few tests or assessments just to see how their brain is sort of working and what their strengths are as well. And then from that, we work at the kind of social level to help people around that individual work and understand differently about how to promote well-being and wellness. And then finally, bringing that up to the organisational level and thinking with organisations, how can we be more inclusive? How can we be more responsive to the populations that we work with?
I do direct clinical work, which takes the form of assessments with people. I offer therapy. That'll be individual therapy and group therapy. I also work with community organisations. That looks like meeting with key partners in the community to develop services that meets the needs of the people. Indirect clinical work, I offer supervision to my colleagues, consultation, which is offering a psychological perspective on people that they're working with, reflective practice, which is supporting colleagues to think about the impact of the work on themselves, and staff support. Finally, I also do some teaching for people in the community as well as for colleagues. One of the first things I noticed when I started here was the generosity of the staff. I noticed quite early on that really senior members of staff were inviting me to shadow them. You know, they were talking to me about my career development and giving me opportunities to progress. So I immediately felt very welcomed in the team. I also just really loved the diversity in the staff teams. You know, the trust staff really represents the community, and that's something that's really important for me. ELFT is also very innovative in terms of its thinking and the way it works. So, you know, making space to work with people who have lived experience, making space to think about diverse ways of working with the community. So this is a place that I can really see myself developing.
Ultimately, the trust is quite clear on its values, so about being inclusive, about being respectful, about caring. And I really see that shine in all the services that I work in and kind of other services that I've come across. So ELFT kind of are true to their values, which is something that I really respect myself, and it's one of the reasons I stay here.
I hope that you have enjoyed these videos and found them informative, and that they will encourage you to consider possibly joining us in the psychological professions. Whether you're in education now perhaps, or considering a career change, it would be great if you would consider joining the psychological professions and working alongside us.